Adam Driver, you star in two movies out this December, Paterson and Silence. Plus, you've got Girls is returning for its last season in February, and then about a year ago, you became Darth Vader's grandson in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and then this past spring, Midnight Special, you had a role in that. So for starters, what have the last 12 months been like?
I don't know. They've been a lot of working and then talking about working, I guess. But it's all it's been good. It's a very vague answer. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I haven't really sat down to analyze it.
Has it been a lot of just like constant state of working, which I guess for an actor must be a really satisfying thing.
Yeah, no, it's good to have a job, but then to have another thing afterwards that you can, separate yourself from that job and work on the one you're working on. So there's no separation anxiety, I guess. But it's been good. It's been, again, this is a terrible answer because I haven't really sat down to think of it. It's been really just kind of one thing to the next and traveling a lot and. But I'm happy to have a couple months off and not think about myself.
Your career in general has covered a fairly wide range, from something as gigantic as Star Wars was, of course, to something more intimate and understated like Patterson coming out this month. What are the factors that draw you to a particular character or film?
Directors, always directors. It's a director's medium, and fortunately, I've been lucky to work on different kinds, all sizes of movies, and there's different values in both. In working with people who have a very specific voice but work very differently, and trying to adapt to what their way of working is as opposed to imposing my way of working on them. But the director for me is what initially interests me.
And you've gotten a chance to work with some of the most respected directors in the medium. Certainly, Steven Spielberg, the Coen brothers. This year, Scorsese, Jim Jarmusch, and you've got an upcoming film with Steven Soderbergh. Do you have a wish list? And if so, is there anyone left on it?
Oh yes, tons of people. There's tons of people that I love. There's always like a kind of like ongoing list in my head where it's like the dream scenario to get to work with some of those people. But what was the first part of your question actually?
No, just noting the.
Oh, is there anybody left? Oh yeah. There's tons. Michael Haneke I think is really brilliant. Pedro Almodovar I think is. Really great. It's now I'm just like listing directors, but there's a lot of people that I either seen their movies recently or grew up watching them that you kind of always may have like a mental list going of. But I could want that all I want, but I've been fortunate enough I've been very lucky to get a lot of opportunities where I could work with those people.
And of course, Patterson working with Jim Jarmusch. This you playing the title role. It's the story is built entirely around your character. What about Jim Jarmusch in particular? Appealed to you about his work and about working with him?
His movies are so specific in tone and are very personal. All of them, you get a sense of, I think, Jim through his movies. I mean, I'm sure you could say that about a lot of really great directors, but his sense of irony, I think, is really funny. I remember seeing like Coffee and Cigarettes at like one art house cinema in like Indianapolis where I was living at the time. It was like an hour and a half drive from where I was living, and I remember coming out of the theater and not really feeling like I got it all or I understood it, but was thinking about scenes or images in that movie for years, because you definitely felt that he built something with a shelf life, that he doesn't care about what its opening weekend is or what what maybe not even what the general audience's response to it is. He has an impulse, and he follows it and creates something around it, and is not worried about how it can be marketed or. Um, I mean, I guess he probably cares if people like see it, but he is, a true artist, and the commercial parts of it, he has a very strong allergy to, which I find very inspiring and appreciate. It's not a business in his mind, and that's always an attractive thing. I'm saying very general things, but that's he really lives the lifestyle. He doesn't really put it on for anyone.
And this particular character in this film, he's not that outwardly expressive. He expresses himself through his poetry, but it's really a lot of it that's going on with this character is his rich inner life that he has under the surface. How did you work with Jim Jarmusch to bring out the details, to bring this character to life when he is so introspective and doesn't kind of wear his heart on his sleeve?
Well, just in that, Jim wrote a script where he kind of relied on the audience's intelligence, that they wouldn't have to have everything explained for them, that not everything has to be from A to B to C to D, that there could be more ambiguity, and that watching someone think, or that the power of thought is cinematic enough, that there's nothing else that we need to explain. Plus, he surrounds you with really great actors who are, interesting people, obviously, but as actors, just fascinating to watch. So in that sense, he makes it really easy. Barry Shabaka Henley, who plays Doc, I've always loved from a lot of Michael Mann movies that he's in, particularly Collateral, which I think he's brilliant in, and Golshifteh Farahani, of course, who plays Laura, and Method Man, and William Jackson Harper, and all these really interesting people. It really kind of I could watch them all day long. And they're so exploratory in their work that there's always something new to discover about them, or something new that they're discovering about their part. And it's just like it's great writing. It's so clear and oddly rare to get to play a character where their main action is to kind of take in everybody around them, which I love playing those scenes in movies where you just get to listen, and if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by really interesting people in front and behind the camera, especially like Fred Elms, who is shooting it, or Mark Friedberg, who's a production designer, or Catherine George, who does costumes. There's always something, I guess, new to discover.
And a lot of the story, of course, is built around Patterson's poetry. Were you yourself interested in poetry before you played this character, or did this film, this character, make you interested in poetry as a result?
It did make me interested in it. I did not. I guess having a strong interest in poetry, because I feel like I probably was exposed to it like many people are, and bad poetry readings in high school where someone really has to get something off their chest about a peanut that they saw in Central Park, and a lot of poetry is like seemingly kind of read off a mountaintop, and but Ron Padgett, who wrote the poems for this movie, is from that kind of New York school of poets, which I think he hates that label, but where their poetry is more conversational, and I guess similar to Jim's movies, kind of constructed to almost be talking to one person and be an intimate conversation. And I love that idea, and also discovering it through someone like Jim, as opposed to hearing it read with like this sentimental tone that it's important because it's poetry, so I'm going to read it as poetry. Discovering it through someone who is really on fire for it is always like a better way to learn something new. And in reading the poems, we just wanted to, I knew William Carlos Williams, but just this is just to say, and not a lot, but discovering like Kenneth Koch and more William Carlos Williams and Ron Padgett, and through him was more exciting. I feel like I maybe just repeated myself, but you get the idea.
Yeah, and Patterson, it's not released yet to general audiences, but it's already made the circuit, the film festival circuit for part of the year, and it's gotten a lot of acclaim already. And you won Best Actor from the Los Angeles Film Critics Association in the last couple of weeks. Is that kind of recognition especially meaningful for a smaller film like this, especially where you're trying to find an audience and introduce it to people in a different way?
I mean, sure. I guess it's a movie about a bus driving poet, where I don't think it has a lot of mass appeal. And for someone like Jim, it's always kind of seems criminal that more people don't know his movies, or because they're so brilliant. And he himself, he'd always joke on set, like, we really got to get this right because dozens of people watch my movies. And so for it to be kind of recognized as a collaborative effort on that kind of level is, very exciting for it, and unexpected, and good.
Completely on a different track is Silence, which is also coming out. It's quite a different film. It's a period film. It's on a larger scale. It's telling the story about Jesuit priests who are on a mission to Japan to rescue their mentor, or to discover what happened to their mentor. And of course it's Martin Scorsese, who I'm sure is a major influence to many filmmakers and actors throughout Hollywood and the world. So how did it feel to get the opportunity to work on a Scorsese film?
How did it feel? It felt like I knew it was a rare experience to get, and because his movies in particular, I think he's at the top of the pyramid as far as director is concerned. That's a pretty obvious statement. So when suddenly he's turning to you and asking you your opinion, it's like kind of a surreal thing. But it's very exciting, and he's very I guess unassuming and very approachable, and he focuses all the conversation towards the task at hand, what the story is that you're telling. And so if anything, it's more inspiring because he is who he is. He's very generous. He's generous with his time, and obviously talking about the character and giving you as much space as you want to kind of find something new or fail. He's very interested in not knowing what's going to happen. He said this thing the other day, like a Q&A, where he's like, who wants to wake up every day and know exactly what's going to happen? And I think that approach works its way into his movies, where he likes the unexpected and doesn't think that he has all of the right answers, which could be the exact opposite considering where he's at in his career and life. And he's also generous with his anxiety, of not putting pressure on himself to get it right, or putting that pressure on other people. And that's fine to let people know that you're confused about what the story is or the best way to capture it, especially as like a younger actor. Again, watching someone of his stature wrestle with the same problems is both comforting, that, oh, good, you never figure it out. As long as you do this job, you never come to any sort of peace or resolution about it. It just kind of happens, and and then that's it. But it's also terrifying, because God, you never figure it out. It's just one long journey. I'm starting to get lost in my own answer, but he's very generous with not only in his work ethic but as a person.
It's interesting when you can compare, director's job to an actor's job. A director, of course, is basically the captain of the ship, while an actor, you're very laser focused on the character you're playing. So were there, you mentioned that it's a very collaborative process. Were there moments where you saw something in your character, who was one of these Jesuit priests on the mission to Japan, that you brought to Scorsese, and that you worked on, that came from you, that you saw in the script and in the character that was a little different?
I mean, no, I don't think so. We were both pretty much on the same page about this, the themes of guilt and the anguish of faith. Well, that was the thing that I got right away. Even obviously in this movie's, the boundaries are religious, and they are Jesuit priests, and it's in the 17th century. So that's kind of what the world we're, in. Those are the boundaries. But in a way, it's an analogy for any kind of. I mean, this is the best way I can describe it. It's an analogy for any kind of commitment to something you believe in. That it's not as simple as just making the commitment. It's all filled with the, doubt and insecurity and questioning, and then that's fine. That there should be forgiveness in that. That that's a healthy part of being committed to anything, whether it be a marriage or being an actor or a writer or a father or a mother. It's filled with these questions of I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know how to do it anymore, or is this even relevant? And that's okay. That's something that you can make peace with yourself about.
In addition to the spiritual hardship, there's a lot of physical hardship that these characters undergo. Was it a physically challenging shoot? Was it taxing, physically, exhausting? That kind of a difficulty to get into this character's mindset.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, because we had to lose a lot of weight for it, which made sense for the story. Marty asked us to lose weight, and we weren't really sure how much. But at the time of the very start of the movie, they've been traveling for a few years on a boat, like not eating well, and obviously maybe and disease, and from Lisbon to Macau, and they've land after this 2-year journey, and are told that they can't make the last leg of their trip. So the stakes were already high, and he wanted to see, and that's that. Told visually as opposed to having to reference it. You just wanted to see it already on their faces that they have gone through so much to get to that point. So losing the weight was difficult, and also that combined with where we were shooting on goat paths and mountainsides, and in Taiwan, and down in the freezing water, and you have no body fat, so you're cold, shooting scenes over and over again at 2:00 in the morning. So it was all very challenging, but it was good in the end. Hopefully that works its way into the movie. I think it's kind of hard to do a movie about persecuted 17th century Jesuit priests without a little bit of struggle.
You mentioned, being drawn to filmmakers when you approach a project. And in an interesting way, the filmmaker you've had the longest kind of collaboration with is Lena Dunham on Girls. You've been on that show from the very beginning, and it's wrapping up. How is it different, kind of saying goodbye to this character and this cast and crew on Girls, compared to, say, ending a film shoot?
I mean, I guess it's more difficult. There's just more history, obviously. We've been with each other for 6 years, and it was the latter part of my 20s, beginning of my 30s. So it's everyone's kind of changed in a lot of ways, but then who they are as people is pretty much still the same. And so that's, it's more familial. But I always feel like I'm ready to move on, even jobs that I love. At the end of it, I don't know if it's like, a defense mechanism or separation anxiety. You're just ready to, put it behind you. I don't know if I can necessarily say that about Girls, because I don't. It's not like those people won't be in my life anymore. But we just won't get together every summer for a long time.
And that show really, put you on the map for a lot of people. It's where a lot of people really first became familiar with you. You were nominated for 3 Emmys for that role. From the beginning of that show to the end, now where you are in your career, would you say that show had a large impact on you? Not just personally, but also professionally, like who you are as an actor.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I got 6 years to basically be in the skin of one person for a while, and it opened up a lot of doors, as you were saying. But that kind of, when you get that working environment, it's hard not to kind of keep craving it in and other jobs. And that I feel like even at the time was very aware of how rare it was that we were given so much room to throw out ideas or try new things, and how much time we had, that it kind of it spoils you in a way.
Well, I want to congratulate you again on Silence and on Patterson and on the upcoming season of Girls and basically just the entire last year of your career and the next couple of years of your career. It looks like are also going to be pretty good. So thank you very much for talking to me today.
All right, thanks a lot.